like I mentioned a few times throughout this podcast so far, recently we spent a day down at Hersheypark, and I kind of wondered, and if you remember from back from the video, if you haven't seen it already, at the end of it I mentioned how I wanted to do a kind of review or give my overall thoughts of Hersheypark, what I thought about it, because it had been a very long time since I had last been there. I hadn't been to Hersheypark since I was a kid, pretty much. One of those things where I wanted to experience it a couple days later, or wanted to give my overall thoughts a couple days later, because the thing that I felt that hurt Hersheypark and experiencing it was the heat and everything. And the thing I wanted to see also was if it was going to take me back or give me any flashbacks or memories from back when I was a kid, which never really happened, or if it was going to give me the nostalgia that I normally get if I was at like a Disney or even sometimes at Universal, just kind of remembering moments from the past when I used to go. But for Hersheypark, for some reason, just nothing really stuck out in terms of any nostalgia or anything for Hersheypark. The biggest nostalgia thing was the ride that I showed, which again, apologies if you did see that video and kind of the quality of that ride, because again, like I mentioned in the video, rookie mistake, but I was recording on my phone, and by the time I got there, my phone had died, and I kind of had to pivot real quick in terms of finding another little camera to be able to record, and unfortunately because of that, that's why the quality of the film just doesn't look great when you're looking at the actual ride itself. But that's the thing I remember kind of most going to Hersheypark, mainly because, and I didn't show this in the video either, but it was the thing we did after, which was we go on that and then we get milkshakes from Chocolate World. That's like the biggest kind of nostalgia I have of Hersheypark from past visits and everything, which is why I really wanted to go to that Chocolatier or whatever it's called restaurant. Fortunately, because of the group size we had, we just couldn't make it work. Digress there for a little bit, but in terms of Hersheypark as a whole, there were definitely fun moments I had. I'm not saying everything was kind of brutal or made worse by the heat. The biggest thing was, obviously, like I mentioned, I was down there with family. It was during that big little staycation they had. The one thing we went out to do was Hersheypark. It was fun seeing kind of my nieces enjoy the flat rides that they had, the many flat rides they had at Hersheypark, and even getting to have a little meet and greet with Reese, the little Reese's Cup character, which my one niece, my 2-year-old niece, really enjoyed being around there, seeing him, and so much so that we had to get a little plushie version of it just for her to take home and just remember from. That was something that was very great. The other thing I didn't do while I was there is I didn't go on any of the roller coasters or anything like that, or more of the thrilling rides, mainly because I was focusing more so on the company that I was with, but more so on kind of the video, and wanted to showcase as much spark as I could. And I felt like the rides, or I knew I wasn't going to be able to record on them, so showing them just didn't really make the most sense when I already knew I was going to be able to record on them anyways. Even some of the flat rides, I think they're pretty stingy. They aren't the biggest fan of people recording or using their phones on. Even had a moment, it didn't happen to me or the group that I was with, but one of the rides, somebody actually dropped their phone midway through the ride, and somehow then it breaks. Miraculously. However, that's kind of where the fun kind of ends in terms of seeing some of the fun that my nieces kind of enjoyed and everything, because again, the biggest issue I had was with the dining kind of stuff, because as part of our tickets we also had a dining plan or mini dining plan that they had with the ticket and everything. And unfortunately, for some reason, even though was supposed to come with a entree, a side, and a drink, but when I went to Chicky and Pete's, for some reason, I gave them the little ticket that I had for the meal thing, and it didn't come with a drink. I'm not really sure why that was the case. I even asked when I was getting the food, does it not come with a drink? And the girl there said, no, it doesn't. But that must not have been the case, because other people in my group that also ate at Chicken Pete's also got it. So I didn't fight it, and maybe I should have fought for it a little bit more. That's where I wish Hersheypark would at least either management or operations or someone would have said something about or instill them more about how those kind of meal plans kind of work, so you don't have those issues kind of thing. And the other big thing too was because it was so hot out. I know they had. I know I showed it in the one clip that they had like little mister and everything, and I know they have a water park there, which I think is where majority of the people kind of spent their day because none of the roller coasters, surprisingly, when I was looking at wait times, never really went over like 50 minutes. So I'm not really sure where the like lines or group of people were. I think it was mainly because it was so hot out that a lot of them just stayed around that boardwalk kind of section, which is their water park area of the park. But again, that I understand they have those things. I just wish they would have had more areas to cool down in. And I know they also have like many like trees and shaded areas, which is where we spent most of the time trying to avoid kind of being out in the sun because it was just so warm out. Yeah, but I'm sure they had more than just the one mister I saw, but I only saw like the one mister while I was down there. I'm sure they had more. I'm sure that's wasn't the only one. Made it a little bit more tolerable. One thing I do wish they would do more of, and obviously because they have that little Hershey's tour like dark ride, I wish Hersheypark had more dark rides or like shows so you can kind of avoid the elements more. And I feel like they should kind of incorporate it a little bit more, just because the main bulk of their operating hours is during the summer, during the hotter months. So you would think they want to take that or have ways for people to kind of avoid the kind of elements and everything when it gets too hot out and stuff like that. So that's where I think they could do like a cool little dark ride of like the characters or anything, or do another show. I know they had. We didn't see the show, but they have some trivia show with the many like candy characters they have throughout the theme park. I just wish they had more like shows and stuff like that, so you can kind of avoid that kind of again elements or stuff. And so you can have more things to kind of enjoy, especially if you have younger families like we were there with, where you don't have to just wait for just flat rides and stuff like that. And flat rides are fine. I have no issue with them. I just, for a park like Hersheypark, I just wish there was just something a little bit more there, which is why I always feel like, not that I thought Hersheypark wasn't like a theme park, but that's where I kind of feel like Hersheypark felt more like an amusement park than a actual theme park that just happens to have some themed elements. And they have some themed lands, like they had a frontier area, which really all it was just one of the many like food areas, dining location kind of stuff. I just wish they could maybe go a little bit deeper into kind of theming these areas, and that could make it a lot more appealing, I think, and more fun. That would be something I think would be very cool, because that's definitely not fair, and I would never do this because it's definitely not a Disney park, but at its best it could easily be closer to like a Universal or a SeaWorld kind of park kind of thing, where even though SeaWorld I think kind of teeters on the theme park and amusement park kind of thing, but Universal has many themed kind of areas and still does the many roller coasters and that kind of stuff as well. Hersheypark could kind of benefit, kind of maybe taking maybe a page out of those books, or page to kind of get more than just kind of flat kiddie rides. I also did kind of, going back to some of the stuff I enjoyed, I did enjoy kind of seeing kind of some of the entertainment options they offered. Like there was those little like, I don't know, bands that was going around for a while. That was kind of fun to see. The weirdest part about that was that they were playing Disney songs at times, and then they were getting a little bit interactive with the crowd that was going. So they do theme songs from movies and TV shows and stuff like that. And people would kind of guess on which song it was. So that was a cool thing, and that's where I feel like they should try to incorporate more of. I also think they need to add more shops and stuff like that, because a bulk of where the shops were kind of shortly after like the entrance to the park, which is where we saw that Puppy Love shirt, where Life is Good is, and that one like character shop. They were all pretty much like right next to each other, and the Christmas store. They were all pretty much right next to each other. I just think they need to. I know it's not, and I have to stop doing this when I'm trying to compare it to stuff, but I always keep going back to Disney because just the way their Main Street kind of is. And I get you have to be kind of different. The thing that I do think that makes Hersheypark interesting is the fact that they do have ZooAmerica right there. And with your ticket, it does give you entrance to ZooAmerica, which I thought was a pretty cool park. And I liked how it's, because it's ZooAmerica, it's animals from essentially America. So it just showed you from different areas of where they come from, the country and everything. I thought that was a very interesting way to go about the park and everything. The thing I think they need to do better there is, because it's it felt like a smaller park, I think they need to widen some of the paths and everything, because I pretty much felt like you were pretty much the walkways exhibit, and if you like stop for a second, you're running into someone else just trying to walk past either the animals or trying to get through. I think they just need to do a bit better in terms of widening some of those areas so people can more easily kind of walk through. It's really in terms of ZooAmerica and stuff that I thought could be a bit better, just because it's a bit small of a park. It just needs better walkways and better pathways, I think, to make it a little easier for people to kind of walk around in. But at the end of the day, what this is pretty much just kind of ended up saying is, Hersheypark is fun. I definitely see the appeal to Hersheypark. I definitely do. It's definitely, and the reason why I say it could easily be like Universal, because I always felt Universal is very much for the teen and for the young adult. Hersheypark is no different. Not saying young families, because there were many young families that were there experiencing Hersheypark. I just think it's just because of all the roller coasters and stuff like that, and all the other fun elements that comes with Hersheypark. That's where it feels more like a teenager or young adults kind of park to go experience, which is no different. I know I've had friends and people who are local who would pretty much go out there for like a day just to kind of ride the rides and just kind of have a good time kind of there. Again, I kind of wish we were able to hit that Chocolatier restaurant, because I definitely wanted to try that out. But overall, I thought Hersheypark was fun. It's a good park, not a great park. I think there's still areas it needs to do a little bit better on. I think it needs to add it, if it wants to get more towards a theme park than amusement park in terms of my eyes. They need to add on to some of the more themed areas they have to the park itself, outside of just the characters or the candy and stuff like that, or embrace it more and added like a little candy area or something like that. But yeah, that's all I really have in terms of Hersheypark and my overall kind of thoughts there. And let me know in the comments below what you thought, if you have been to Hersheypark. If you think if I'm being too kind of rough on Hersheypark, or how you kind of feel about Hersheypark and everything, let me know in the comments below, because I would really much like to know what you guys think about it as well.